Okay, now if a woman feels at ease and comfortable in her body, she totally turns on men. If I'm going to do therapy, and you guys actually using my tools can do therapy. Okay, therapy is just asking, going more deeper into the feeling letter and the blocks and getting them to look at how that, where it came from is their childhood in some way. So it's real simple, really. It's when they're upset about something, you say, okay, in your past, when did you feel this way? And think of other things, get them to talk about things that happened in their past. And it could be also that her obesity is she's been molested in some way as a child. Okay, so this is very, very common in obese women. They were molested as children. So then in a session, we're not trying to be the best therapist in the world or whatever. It's often I find just having them talk about what their childhood was like and when did you feel safe? When did you not feel safe? When did you feel happy? When did you not feel happy? Your basics. What are the women's basic needs, which is to feel safe? What are women's basic needs is to feel someone cares for them. What are women's basic needs? To feel understood. Did you feel like you could share whatever you think? We go down our basic chart. What do women need for estrogen? They need caring, understanding, they need respect, they need to feel safe. So you just ask those questions, as a kid, tell me other times when you felt that way. And so you get her with you energetically talking about what happened in her past. And if it comes up where there was that trauma, if she shares that with you, she can work on that. And that's gonna help her to heal this thing. Because if you've been violated, basically you want to protect yourself. So that's what the weight does. Weight protects. I can even share my own experience occasionally. I'm actually an endomorph, ecto-endo. Endomorphs just put on more weight. They're naturally designed to do that. That's nothing wrong with being wider and bigger and softer, spongy. That's one person. That's a biology that's called endomorphs. And then there's ectomorphs who tend to be tall and no fat and no muscle. And they're your professor types and mad scientist type and whatever. And then you've got the mesomorphs who tend to be more like Superman, a little waist and it goes up. And for women, it's more that hourglass shape. Okay, so that's the mesomorph. And we're all combinations of that. Some people are pure those, some people are combinations of that. All right. So it's very important to explain to them this is normal and natural, but sometimes it's too much and it's unhealthy. So she needs to get healthier, but we're talking about his problem. He wants to get it up, but relationship is always two people. So you want to investigate that, but ultimately this putting on weight thing is also, if she's eating too much, that you explain to her she's eating in order to comfort her need, stimulate her need for estrogen. Okay, she needs to have estrogen to feel sexual. Now, what most people don't know is that primarily what turns a man on and gives him erections is a woman who feels sexual or wants to have sex. And so he's over there looking at porn with women who at least pretend to act like they want sex, and that turns him on. What's going to turn him on is to activate, because he's not turned on to her. And so whenever something's not happening, your mind looks for reasons. So his mind is just saying, this is the reason. And so what he has to do is raise her estrogen. Okay, so in the making love process, and I've shared this with you, not all of you may not be knowing this process, but it's the woman, when they get in bed, they turn down the lights. That's okay. Lots of people make love in the night, and she never reveals herself naked in front of him. I don't know if she does or not, but that's another thing. She needs to be more private about her body, because she doesn't feel at ease and comfortable with her body. Okay, now if a woman feels at ease and comfortable in her body, she totally turns on men. Okay, that's the number one thing. When a woman feels like, look at me, I look hot. That's an energy that turns men on. But as women start being too critical of their body, their husbands lose interest in them sexually. It has nothing to do with the man, okay? It has all to do with the woman. And there could be cases where men have certain issues, but generally not. It's only a smothering mother in some men will cause them to lose attraction to their partner. And for many gay men, they could be either one, but it's the smothering mother that just pushes over to gay. You know, when my gay friend says, I would never marry a woman, I said, why? He says, I don't want to, my mother sucks all my energy. Okay. So he just has a thing with females. And then there's the reality of biology. Some gay people are just that way, but a lot of them have been affected by their mothers who are. And what does the smothering mother do? She says, your father's not here, but you're my darling. You're my little boy. You're the one who makes me happy. Only you can make me happy. He can't make me happy. And she has this sort of incestuous, intimate relationship where she reveals all her complaints about daddy and all her problems about daddy not being there. Then a little boy feels the burden, the unhealthy burden of trying to make mommy happy. Now, to some extent, all women make that mistake, but this is when it's really done. Okay, some people just suck your energy. They're such victims. And when you grow up with a mother who's a total victim, really hard to want to feel attracted to females. You have a repulsion to it. Okay, so this is a big long answer, but if I was with the person, I would be able to sort of from this thing, see what's going on. But I'm giving you a vision of my opinions about what's going on. And so here, now let's get to solutions. Based upon that background, we have kind of an understanding. I have an understanding of what I would want to suggest to that person. He needs to stop doing porn. She needs to stop using her vibrator. You can't just say go into the mirror in the bathroom naked and say, I love you, I love you, I love you. This is just advice people give. To some extent, that might be helpful if somebody really doesn't have a problem. She has a problem. She has a lot of reasons to feel unlovable. She doesn't love her body. Society does not love that. And her body's unhealthy, and you can't feel natural love towards something that's not healthy. You can feel compassion, but not sexual energy. Sexual is, I love myself, and she actually does feel good about herself. But there's this wonderful thing about biology, and it is sex. Sex is the prime force of the universe. You can't make civilization stops when people stop having sex. So there's what we can do is solve the problem with sex and with love. Okay, so love and sex. We're not animals. Animals is just sex. For humans, sex is a doorway. Sex is so pleasurable when you touch the right buttons. It allows you to feel more. And if you can feel more, you can love more, but you have to be conscious of that. So what she has to do is become more feminine in the bedroom. So, and she is feminine. Her body is producing all of that fat in order to feel feminine. You see, when your body needs estrogen, the fat produces estrogen. So she needs estrogen for her well-being. And so her body's producing fat to do it. Not all women do that. Some women don't have a lot of fat on their body. They have different processes. But anyway, so she's, we know she's estrogen deficient. And so what we do is we give her the process that they do in bed. So they turn down the lights, they put on some nice music. He doesn't do porn. He's not turned on. He doesn't need to be turned on. Don't try to have sex, but he needs to make the room nice. Okay, so he needs to do something for her, create a nest, right? First thing is a nest. And then say, we're going to practice having sex, and it's okay if I don't get erections. This is what's going to build us to a normal sex life. We're not right now. We want to bring that back. So he's now going to do something where she feels, and all she has to do is do what she feels comfortable wearing when they're in bed. She shouldn't just get into bed naked. Okay. They should not expect to be turned on right away. And then he touches her body, and they start doing the process that I'm going to suggest. Okay. You're close in bed. You're getting close. The bodies are getting close. Then what she does is you've already explained this process to them in coaching. The process, and you do it with them in coaching. Make sure they do it every time you coach. And the process is, do you love me? And he says, yes, I love you. You give them the script. You say, just follow my script. And the feelings will follow the script. The feelings will follow the script. Whether you think this or not, they're going to follow what you tell them to do. Eventually, when it's flowing, they can add to it. But everything is pure positive. Pure positive. And just turn this off. So she's going to say, do you love me? And we're going to adjust the words for their problem. We're not going to bring their problem into it. It's not like one of the words, do you love me? Yes. How much do you love me? With all my heart. Just say it. Then she says, and normally we'd say, do you think I'm beautiful? In this case, we're not going to say that in the beginning. So you don't even bring that up to them. But then, are you happy to spend time with me? Did you have a good time at the movies or whatever date they had last time? Did you have a good time? Were you happy to be with me? Do you like me? Interesting. You start with, do you love me? How much do you love me? With all my heart. Are you happy you married me? He's going to say yes, even though there's parts of him that will not be happy he's married to her. Okay. And I don't know who the person is, but you can get a sense of what would be easy for him to say, what's easy for her to ask. So that's the whole key. They say that, then they give a hug, and she needs to have her body touched everywhere, but not sexually. If it becomes sexual, it will turn off her ability to become sexual, because she's got to warm this body up with a lot of oxytocin. See, women have to feel safe with oxytocin. And then once the oxytocin is produced, then when she can feel, I can share and open up my insecurities with you, now her estrogen will go up. First safety, then estrogen can go up. And there's no more potent place for estrogen to go up than in the bedroom, okay, which is your two bodies come together. Think about the two polarities. Here's the magnets, the positive pole, the negative pole. Now, if you have polarity in a relationship, what will happen is you don't feel it that much. You just like being around your partner quite a bit. But then when the magnets get close, they click. That's the spark. You have to be naked in bed for that to happen for them. Okay. So, but you have to condition him to go, you're not supposed to have an erection for 10 minutes. Just say, it's not going to happen. You shouldn't have, don't try to have an erection. The worst thing in the world is for a man to try to have an erection. A man tries to have an erection, he's going to feel like I'm failing, which lowers his testosterone and inhibits an erection. So this is standard sex therapy, which is we're going to have the worst sex ever and think that's normal. We have to have the worst sex ever. And so there's no goal expectation. And she should have no goal to have an orgasm. He should have no goal to have an erection, but they should cuddle. They should be close. They should do the reassurance exercise several times. Then the kiss. Everything's in the kiss. This is the most powerful thing to start waking up his connection to what she's feeling. When she's feeling safe because of him, he's there. Okay, we're not trying to do anything, no expectation on you. And she's feeling safe, and you do the kiss, kabang. Now it begins, okay? He'll get a little bit of attraction towards her at that point. In the beginning, you're just friends, you love each other. We're going to do this process. Then the kiss happens, and you do a little kiss first, and you come back to hugging, and then do a little kiss again, and come back to hugging, do a little kiss again, until they can start moving into the French kiss. Okay, a little bit of French kiss, just a little bit. That means mouths open, tongues touching, that kind of thing. Okay, now you've got that going. Now he's undressing her. She undresses him. And so her art is just a massage without any expectation. His art is to cuddle with her and whatever, and not worry about his erection. And gradually, after doing this several times, it will start to wake up. But you're talking about slowly waking it up. And you have to let him know that all of his porn has only inhibited his ability. So it's not her fat. The fat was just something at a time when he wasn't turned on to her. But then he went to the porn, and the porn has redirected all of his sexual energy over there, which causes women to feel insecure, whether she knows it or not, and unlovable. Why does he need that? And so forth. And then she goes over, and if she's going over using her clitoris and masturbation, she's now pushing him away. by not making him do those honors. So there's the dynamic. And when they start having erection, when he starts having erection, or even before his erection, but as she's enjoying it, he says, are you enjoying this? Do you like this? And she says, yes, I like it so much. I like it. That's what awakens a man. I like it. I like it. I'm enjoying it. This feels good. So she has to determine what feels good. And he does that for her. You explain to him that as she's feeling good, it's because pleasure feels good and massage feels good, okay, for any woman. So you're massaging her and touching her at a certain point where they have conversation, which is, does this feel good? And she says, yes, I like this a lot. Because you're telling her your goal for her is not to have an orgasm. Your goal is not to have some big climax or anything. Your goal is just to enjoy each other. And his goal is not to have an erection. His goal is just to enjoy giving to her pleasure. Then breasts. Okay, if she doesn't have issues with breasts, some women do, because it's very vulnerable. Again, touching her breasts, massaging her breasts dramatically increases her oxytocin. Okay, when oxytocin is a hormone that has other functions, and one of the functions is it causes the milk to drop in women. So the breasts is where you get the milk, and so this is a major oxytocin center, is the breasts. Circling the breasts, never grazing over the nipples just a little until they become hard. Now, not all women does it become hard, and that's not a problem, but for most women, they'll get hard. So a little bit of that, and when they're hard, then a little pressure on, a little squeeze occasionally, some forth. Women like different things, there's not one set thing, but the breasts, massive oxytocin gets produced when a man sucks, if she enjoys it, and he sucks on her nipples, and she says, oh, I like it, don't go away. Then what happens? And she's got breasts, so there's a lot of oxytocin to be made here if she's overweight. So they need to be sucked on, and as that oxytocin increases in her, her safety level increases. You see, she's not safe. All that weight is protecting her. She doesn't feel safe. So getting the oxytocin in her body, what it generates in her is the message to his body that he's rescued her. You see this dynamic? This is the male-female dynamic. He has rescued her. I'm the damsel in distress, and the man on the white horse comes and saves my life. You talk about the conditions of the best sex ever. This is the biology of what we see in the movies a long time ago. Now we've got women saving men and nobody's having sex. I'll say that again for fun. The movies have women saving men and nobody's having sex, all right? And this is the reality today. When women feel they're saving a man, responsible for a man, caring for a man, he's a child and she's a mother. And the mother-child is not right to have sex. It's the man who has saved her in some way. And in this case, he's made her feel safe. And so he has to, he should have never said that you're too fat and I'm not turned on to. That's a hard thing to say to anyone. He did.
It's a hard thing to hear.
It's a hard thing to, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, you can't say that. Women will always say things like, do you think I'm fat? And what your response needs to be is, no, I love you just the way you are. I look at you and you're my angel. And so sometimes words don't have to express all of what you're thinking and feeling. You find one part of you that says that. Because one of the interesting things I know by using this technique is that I love my wife completely, all right? And when she says, do you love me? I say, yes. And she says, how much do you love me with all my heart? Do you still think I'm beautiful? Yes. Are you happy you married me? Yes. And after doing that 4 or 5 times, 5 questions, I feel more love for her. So the words, a man speaks out his words, he has to defend them. This is why couples argue, is once a man says something, he now has to defend it. It's like planting your flag out there. I have to defend that flag. This is my territory. And this all just happens in your brain. It's an amazing thing. The brain in a man, more so than a woman, in a man, you plant that flag, you say it, you now have to defend it completely. Women can say stuff as long as a man doesn't react against it. They're changing their mind all the time. Okay, that's the whole idea of the Venus talk, is just let her talk for a little while and she'll be focusing primarily on the negative, and then her mind will shift towards the positive. automatically, because see, we are designed this way. We have a prefrontal cortex. Left side looks at the is optimistic. The right side is pessimistic. We're supposed to be both. And women, they find their center point by first exploring the negative and then coming back to the positive. But if he reacts against the negative, she now has to defend the negative and she can't get to the positive. So that's why we tell men, don't talk. Just let her find her way back to love. She will find that way back to love. And women do not demand perfection if they find their way back to love. Love is accepting imperfection. Love is seeing the good in things. And seeing the good in things means seeing good where other people don't see good. So, but that's, I mean, the world is horrible right now. America is going down the drain. At the same time, there's more consciousness, there's more awareness. There's people are waking up. Every government in history has been corrupt, and we have just accepted it. See, corruption has been the whole planet. Slavery. You don't think we have slavery now? You know, minimum wage, how people can afford to live a lifestyle that has dignity. We don't have that now. With millions and millions of people, slaves all over the place. Now, when I look at some African villages, I don't see that. They have a low standard of living, but nobody's controlling them from their ambitions and their dreams. You know, so we are the most enslaved, you know, and we go back a few hundred years, we had the actual slaves. There's always been slaves on the planet. People think, oh, the Americans, the white men enslaved the black men. No, black people enslaved the white men in Africa. You know, white men enslaved white men. The whole royalty is slavery. Okay, you couldn't own your property. This is insane how corrupt the whole world is being, and people are waking up to that. But unfortunately, we have this thing called identity politics, where we emphasize on this group's victimness and this group's victimness and this group's, as opposed to let's wake up and realize that it's a few psychopaths that have been running the planet for a long time, and we're waking up going, we don't deserve that. And it's anyway, a little. I have to have my moment to say a few things. So anyway, that's going on. All right, Rich. So I think those are some good techniques to start with them.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the emphasis here is that give up the goals, enjoy the simple pleasures of being together, and at a certain point, test it with the kiss, and then come back from the kiss. The kiss wakes it up, but his arousal will come from her feeling safe and loved and enjoying it. And as she enjoys it more, and only then when she enjoys it more, she pulls his hand down to the clitoris to stimulate the clitoris. And if we look at my approach to sex, if you want long-lasting great sex, you don't just focus on the clitoris all the time. You got to do enough for her juices to get going, for you guys to know what happens. And all of that foreplay was creating security. He's doing something to provide that for her that raises her estrogen, but estrogen can only go so far without now balancing it with her male side. The clitoris is her male side. The clitoris is the part of her that will begin to feel, I want to be penetrated. I want this sex. So most women who've been married a few years, whatever, and the guy says, do you want to have sex? She go, well, no, I don't want it. I got to do this and this and this. That's because she hasn't had enough estrogen stimulation to then feel, I want sex. So one thing for married couples, for all of you to know, is when the woman says, I'm not really that interested in sex, you check into how much foreplay is she getting? Because you can start having sex for women, without the desire to have sex, knowing that as the foreplay is slow and I'm getting into my body, I'm getting into my estrogen, then what will happen is estrogen rises, naturally, her body will want to balance it with her testosterone, and she will want to have sex. And then when she's wanting, around that time as estrogen goes up, then the clitoris will feel good. Clitoris does not always feel good to women. Some women feel it's like painful, it's shocking, I don't want that, or it's dry, you know, all kinds of things. You can't just go jump into the clitoris. I mean, in some situations you can, but there's generally speaking, it was a big thing when Bonnie, my wife, realized that, well, I'm not in the mood, but when John makes love to me, I get in the mood. You see how that is? And so many women will relate to that. They have a husband that knows the steps of making love. They should read my book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. It's so well written out. And there's a lot more in that book. So I won't give that whole book now, but that's some good starts for them.
But
big
John, I do
emphasis.
have a question about that. Because one person just mentioned, are we looking to increase her estrogen levels or the oxytocin levels?
Always starts with oxytocin.
Okay.
Estrogen, to get into the subtleties of it, you can have danger. Let's say a ruling man comes into a woman and he's dangerous. What that will do is that's not safe, right? But she will feel safe by saying yes to whatever he says. And she will feel, if I say yes to whatever he says, then I can protect myself. Then I can depend on him to not hurt me much. So it's depending. When you depend on something outside yourself, that raises estrogen. That's like I'm saying for the overweight woman, I'm depending on food to make me happy rather than what other things. She depends on her husband's love. She depends on being with her children. She depends on nature to feel good. She depends on things that make her feel good. Whatever it's shopping, for example, is a real classic. Lots of women get addicted to shopping because shopping is depending on looking at other things to feel good, to feel like, oh, I can have that, I can have that, I can have that. So, but before you can depend on someone, you have to feel safe that they'll be there for you. And that's our direction of having women become sexually aroused. We're looking just at that. Is she feels safe, then touching their body feels better. You can also have the situation where a woman feels in danger and she's depending upon the danger, the bad person, in order for her survival. And therefore, her estrogen will also go up in that situation. That's called the Stockholm syndrome. Whereas women, as long as I surrender to you, you will save me. Okay, otherwise, I'm going to beat you up and like I did the other girls. So this is a big thing with the evil side of life. They slap them around, they beat them up, whatever. And okay, as long as I'm nice and I give him everything he wants, I'll be saved. So I can depend on him to protect me from the evil side of him if I give him everything I want. And that surrendering also produces high estrogen. So that's the dark side. That's, then you get into S&M, which is role playing all these different out of balance things, because you can manipulate the hormones in a variety of different ways. For me, I mean, I can manipulate my testosterone level just by driving my car in a dangerous way, which I used to do. I don't anymore. I didn't think it was that dangerous, but it basically, I could lose my license. I've got a car that will go 140, and I've done it. All right. So, and there was a part of me at a time in
I've
my life.
driven with you. I know.
So anyway, but I don't need to do that anymore. My testosterone is so high, it's not important to me. I don't have that sort of addictive tendency. But that would be one thing. Sad news, my business partner of 25 years, 35 years, I think it is, something like that. He died last week, and he had an addiction to risk. He would get money and lose money, get money and lose money. He's like a gambler. He's proud of how much money he's lost in Las Vegas. He has these checks where he's written, millions of dollars he's lost, but then he makes millions of dollars. So that's his lifestyle. He lives like a king. And anyway, unfortunately, he's a person that lived by danger, and he did some dangerous Ozempic. You've heard of Ozempic? Everybody's losing weight with Ozempic. Well, he was also taking sleeping. He works 20 hours a day. He's a workaholic. He took sleeping pills to sleep, and he took blood pressure medicines. And then he took Ozempic. He started losing a lot of weight very quickly and thought, oh, I'll lose it even faster. And then against the suggestions, took a whole bunch of it. And his blood pressure, I think, he had a heart attack. And very
Wow.
sad for all of us. He owes me a lot of money. Anyway, so life moves on. Life moves on. But just as an understanding of men, when all of my money is invested in him and I would get payments from that, from my lifestyle, I won't be getting those payments anymore. His wife told me she was with him on the computer when he was doing the stocks, and one day he lost $22 million. I mean, if you can think about that. He never told me he was losing that much. But he was a wild guy. Now, he kept making the money to lose. There's no question about that. But this is big time people. I'm just living my nice life. But because I'm not going to getting the support from my investments from him, because I find out he's got lawsuits, he's got money owed, he had no money in the bank account. So it's not as gloom as that. But instantly, the next day, I got an idea for a new business. And I'm starting my new business, and it's going to be fantastic. What's my new business? It
What?
is food trucks.
Wow.
I've been, my wife is wanting to be more independent from me because she has such she's Chinese, my new wife, and she's Chinese. And she goes, I could never live this life if you die. You can't die, but you're going to die someday. Maybe I'll still be alive. How am I going to support myself? And so I said, all right, well, so this has been an ongoing song for last year. And every time we go to this place where they have, it's called coconut pudding, Chinese coconut pudding. It's the most delicious thing. I said, you want to be independent. You should open up this store. You should open up this store. This is good. And she's thinking about. So then after Ramey died, immediately I said, we're going to open up stores. And then we started looking around for the best locations. And it's hard to find locations these days where you get a good traffic. You need a lot of good traffic, and we didn't find it easily. I'll put it that way. So I said, we'll just get trucks, and we can put our trucks in all these places. And once people have a cup of this stuff, it's addictive, and it's low sugar, and it causes weight loss. The ingredients in coconut causes weight, it helps you stimulate your metabolism. So now I've got a fleet of, I've just ordered a fleet of coconut trucks. I've worked it out anyway. So I've got a great new business for her. But I'm trying to make the point without all the details. Suddenly, I had this huge motivation. And that, again, happens because I have to. Men only do things if they have to. And this is a big, clear thing for women. And the have to is simply asking for help. So some of you haven't been on all my calls, but one of the things I'm telling the couples all the time now is practice women asking for help. It's very important. So many women don't ask for help. And now I analyzed romance, and I found that romance, which means higher estrogen levels, is whenever a man does something for a woman that she doesn't have to do. Have we explored this, Rich?
Yes, but go ahead. Yes.
Okay, maybe some of you didn't hear it, so because I haven't seen all of you, so this is great. So opening the car door, for example, when you open a car door for a woman on a romantic date, you're doing something she can do for herself. So my remembering of this was Bonnie's opening the car door. She says, oh, I can do that myself. And I said, of course you can do it yourself, but you give so much to me and our family and other people. Tonight, let me do everything for you. And that has an effect on a woman's biology. And that effect is, oh, I don't have to do that. And that causes an estrogen surge in the beginning of romance. Now, it's the same concept of Men from Mars concept of give her 1 rose or 50 roses, you still get the same estrogen response. So a woman feeling like I can ask a man to do something and you're going to get an immediate positive response. That's as good as, there's a storm coming along and I need you to fix the roof, which all men would go do. Because it's a big problem. Men don't understand little things also have a big effect on women. So this is a little thing she's going to ask him to do for her every day, which takes less than 5 minutes, maybe in 1 minute. The whole point is she's going to ask for him to do something for her that she could do for herself. And therefore she would never ask for that. And he would never respond like, why are you asking me? You can do that. Instead, there's a game you play where once a day, she asks you to do something and she gets to enjoy you doing it for her. And she needs to enjoy him doing it for her. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Thanks. Just that's it, simple. Every day, her asking, because women have to get into the role of, they have to overcome this built-in tendency of why should I ask? Because nobody requires, I do stuff without people asking, but men don't do stuff unless they have to do it. And that's what an ask is like, if you want to make me happy, this would make me happy. And it's not a big deal. But you want to say it's not a big deal. You just want to say, It's within 5 minutes. You can do it. Would you do it? It's very powerful just every time. And this is where women can start to see they're a big problem in the relationship. They don't ask. Even with my clients, first thing I say is, okay, how many times did you ask? And well, I did it one time. I said, you got to do it every day. And the men are way more willing to do the stuff I ask. Okay. Is he giving you 4 hugs a day? Yep. He does those 4 hugs a day. They're very willing to do it. And are you happy? Are you willing to give her that 5 minutes whenever she asks? Stop whatever you're doing right away. Happy to do it with a smile on your face. Yeah, I want her to do it. See, men like doing this. It's like, I'm going to get paid for an easy job. Who doesn't like that? All right. So
Here's a good one, John. John, how do women get their trust back and not wait 9 years?
I just
That's
answered
an
it.
interesting.
You just answered it. What builds trust is somebody hasn't been there for me. He wasn't there for me. So they're stuck and I have to do it alone. See, I have to lowers estrogen, increases testosterone. Women who've been rejected, felt hurt in a relationship, felt mistreated in a relationship, whatever it might be, her reaction to always that is going to be, well, I can't depend on a man the way I thought I could. So I can't depend on a man the way I thought I could. So I have to do it myself. Every time you're feeling I have to do it myself, you're saying, I don't have any help to do it. So she has to get in a relationship. Now we talk about the single woman now, and she should read Mars and Venus Starting Over, but this is not in that book. So this is an addition to that book. That book's really good. And it really encourages women. There's, I think, 20 different excuses women give to themselves for not getting involved. One that comes to mind, I don't want to go through all 20 now because it's in the book, but one of them is like, say she's married and she has children, and then her husband, they get a divorce, and she says, well, I can't date because I need to take care of the children. Now the children need more of me. And the reality is, on each one of these, I tell them the reality that they're missing out on. The reality is, if you give up men to be with that child, you're hurting that child. That child came into this world from 2 people. And that child has a mother and a father. And so that woman needs to bring another man into her life so that another man is satisfying these adult needs that the mother has. She doesn't have to go out and have sex, but she has to have some guy taking her to dinner, doing dates with her, doing interactions with her that make her feel happy. Because when the child experiences mom is not looking to me to make her happy so much. Certainly mom gets happy with her children, but she feels I'm betraying my child if I need to work double time here. What she needs to do is make sure she includes the need for romantic interaction with the opposite sex, which made that baby. This is why I'm not really thrilled with, gay couples taking care of kids. I mean, it's better than nothing for sure. I mean, some orphanage would be horrible, but a child needs to see their mother interacting with the other sex that made that child. So if she's not interacting with the other sex that made the child's going to miss on something. And I try not to be upset about it. So, I'm trying to be open-minded at the same time. The answer is, for the ideal situation, is that mom loves dad. And if dad and they can't communicate, then mom also loves dad at a distance and also loves another man in intimacy. Whether that just be romantic intimacy, doesn't have to involve sex, or it can involve sex. That's not the major thing here. But clearly, if mom's having sex with another man who really loves her and cares for her, boy, that child's going to feel, on an energetic level, it doesn't have the burden of fulfilling my mother, because there's a certain level of fulfillment that will bring. And when she has that level of fulfillment, then a child is going to feel less pressure to be perfect, less pressure to make mom happy, less pressure to on them, because every child wants to make the parents happy. Every child wants that.
John, here's a really, really good question, and I believe you answered in one of, I love this book, is What You Feel You Can Heal. The question is this: Could you explain how exploring feelings helps release them? For example, if someone's angry, how does digging into feelings of sadness or hurt help? Especially if the person isn't aware of their anger in the first place. How does bringing it up aid in any way? Further, if even if they recognize their anger, why is it essential to delve into every emotion imaginable, such as shame, anger, disgust, sadness, guilt, resentment, hopelessness, and so on? How does that help?
Well, not everybody has to go there. Uh, Depends on how expanded your awareness is.
It's a great question, though.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so where do I want to start with that question? First, the first principle is when you're upset, whether you're angry or sad or feeling disgusted, no problem. You don't have to dive deep into it. You just feel it and don't act on it. See, our biggest problem as human beings is when we have emotions, negative emotions, we act on them. And instead of processing them, to just listen to, it's like exploration. You know, every great philosopher, spiritual teacher, pretty much everybody says, know thyself. Okay. So, you know, ask the question, you know, okay, why do I feel this way? And explore what I can do about it. Okay, in a positive way. But why do I feel this way? So that's just understanding why I feel this way. Now, as someone who becomes a bit more evolved, if I'm angry, sometimes I just need to feel angry for a little while and talk about the somebody. Why talking about the somebody, by the way, works is it brings more awareness to what you're feeling. Okay. And particularly for women, talking about it brings that awareness to what they're feeling, and then they become a bit more objective. Okay. So awareness is, you can be on the mountain, or you can live where I am and you can see the mountain. Okay, so I have a mountain out there. I can see the mountain if I'm more objective. So talking about what you're feeling inside creates a sense of objectivity. That's why people come to us as coaches, you know, talking about it. I'm sure you've all had the experience of somebody's talking about it, and then they go, oh, now I see, just why they're talking. And I try to elicit conversation to explore, well, why did you do that? What were you thinking? What was going on? Then what happened, and so forth. The whole point is to understand why I feel this way and what I can do about it. So he said, what I can do about it is adjust my expectations.
What is that, John, on your left? What is that on the floor?
Oh,
On the floor. That
that little tail going by.
little tail, what is that?
That wild animal is behind me. Hey, Mimi, come here. Come here. Let's show up. Come up. Jump. No, come here.
What a
Come here.
what a cutie.
Cutie. I don't know if you can see her. She's too
Yeah.
little. But she's happy with me petting her. Okay, so
So here's another, that's a good one. Here's
wait, no,
another one.
I got distracted, so I want to come back to what I was saying. There's always more. Okay, which is, so the key thing is when we say to people, have you ever been upset about something and you're stuck feeling it and you don't want to feel it anymore? Sometimes I'm angry and I want to be angry. I'm pissed off. I don't like that. And then I immediately come back to being relaxed. That's just a normal human reaction, and I can feel it and then let it go. It's just a response. Your body gives you a response to something that you don't want. So, you know, we have to navigate in the world. We have to know what we don't want and what we do want. All negative emotions are pointing out to us what we don't want. And all positive emotions are pointing out to us what we do want. So how do I know what I want? Ask a woman, for example, or even right now when Ramey died, I'm like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? Okay, what do I want to do? So you have to find what you want to do. So many people clearly don't know what they want, unless they're just, you know, in the Vedic knowledge in the East, they say, you know, the senses, this is low consciousness, is where your senses determine what you want. Okay, that means I see the ice cream and now my senses tell me that's what you want. Okay. It's like right now I'm fasting. This is my 5th day on the fast. So my mind is not as able to come up with words, but my mind is incredibly sharp. And my meditations are out of this world, literally out of this world. because I'm fasting. I'm going 5 days without water. This is my 6th day. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. They say after 5 days, you might lose some muscle mass, so I might start eating again. After 2 days, you lose all hunger. Okay. So the senses have no control over me. It's kind of like they control us. And then if you don't listen to them, they, okay, go back to sleep. So anyway, having said that, that's the Vedic tradition. And I don't suggest anybody to fast for 5 days. Okay. This is a part of my culture I live in. As a yogi monk for 9 years, I would fast for 30 days, 5 days. You know, my body's trained to do that. I normally only eat 1 meal a day. And so this is, you train your body to do these things. So anyway, I'm not recommending it at all. So that's a whole different subject, is fasting. A lot of great experts teaching about fasting now, because it's so important that we fast in the right way for our body type, for our age, et cetera, because we're all filled with toxins. You have to know this. We're so toxic. And giving your body a chance, when you stop eating, what happens in your body is it turns on the house cleaner. It's like you're busy using the house all the time. There's no time to clean it. It gets messy. Stop eating, and then your body has a chance to detox. And if there's a lot of toxicity, or you're not drinking enough water, your body can't get rid of all the toxins, and you feel worse, and they just go right back in your body. So it's an art and a science, but I think worthy for everybody to learn about it at some point. And it's very different for women. This is just a simple point from Mars Venus. Whenever a woman says she's hungry, men find solutions right away, because women, they have a different, you know, man says I'm hungry, he can wait to get to the next town to get there. But for a man, he does his biology is such that with greater muscle mass, the muscles actually can go into the liver and make more sugar. There's a whole complicated process, but he won't have the steep drop in blood sugar that women can have. Unexpected drop in blood sugar for a woman will cause immediate bias towards negativity, and there'll be a terrible argument following. Okay, this is whenever your blood sugar drops, there's a bias towards negativity. Enough said. But we're on interesting subjects. So what you feel, you can heal. The whole point of it is feel your feelings. And now what's not in that book is evolved later, is we get addicted to negative emotions if we use our negative emotions in order to achieve a goal. Simple. If you use negative emotions to achieve a goal, then your brain goes, this works. And so if I have fear that keeps me from doing something, then, and I don't take action based on my fear of failure, my fear will only grow stronger. It's the same thing with the woman who gets a divorce. She's afraid of trusting another man, so she doesn't date men. Then every time she turns down dating men, she's giving reality to her fear that men can't be trusted. I can't get what I need. I'm safe by not being a man. So by letting fear control your life, you're affirming the negative belief that's behind the fear. Same thing with anger. If you're using anger to intimidate someone and control them, and you can control them that way, then whenever somebody's not doing what you want, you get angry. And it just becomes an automatic addictive response. It is an animal response. You know, animals can't communicate words. They don't have self-awareness, et cetera, so they use anger to intimidate and scare off and control others. And of course, so we want to realize, then you might go, well, then we shouldn't have no emotions. I go, no, we have a brain of 3 major parts. It's kind of the theory that goes along with our brains. The front part is the executive, makes decisions, determines actions, understands solutions, can guide you. It's the leader, okay, CEO of the body. Then the limbic system is these emotional reactions. It's the animal part of us. It's just simply conditioned responses. And then the very back part of the brain is instinct, no thinking at all. You know, if I get a cut on my body, the back part of the brain heals the cut. If I break a bone, the back part of my body heals the bone. But if you don't connect with the emotions that come up from the back part of your brain, you're disconnecting with your self-healing mechanisms. You're also disconnecting with sex drive. You know, this is what happens as people get older. They stop getting upset about stuff generally. You know, they kind of like, okay, it's not going to work anyway. So they disconnect with these instinctive feelings, with instinctive reactions, and they want to just live in their head. So many people just live in their head, but then their bodies are weak and they get sick and so forth. You'll see this. We want to have all the brain going, but we want to guide it in a productive way. We want to retrain this limbic system, which is most of our emotions that are like anger, sadness, and fear. Emotions that are like being scared, being disgusted, being hurt, being shame. That's very deep instinctive stuff back there. So if we're having those feelings, we want to be aware of those feelings, because awareness to feelings, it's kind of like a little alarm goes off and says, don't go there. And we say, okay, I'm not going to go there. And then it goes away. Everything has a purpose in your body. So why do expressing feelings, people think you're getting feelings out of you? It's all nonsense. I shouldn't say nonsense. It's a nice way of saying this, but everybody says it that way. I remember in my life, I realized it wasn't about getting the emotions out. It was putting the awareness in and add to the awareness love. Love heals all negative emotions, but it can't heal your negative emotions until you put the negative emotion in front of the love. So think about a child crying. You can't communicate that. You just hold them and they stop crying. Okay, it's just a part of us that needs connection. Love is connection. All negative emotions come from disconnection. I want this, I can't have it. That's simple as that. So what we deepest need inside of all of us is feeling loved. And so when somebody hears our emotion and feels our emotion, pain, when somebody can feel your pain, and that's what all negative emotions are, they're just pain points, okay? It's the same thing. Why we feel pain is so the body, if we feel pain, so the awareness can go to that place, so the body can begin healing that place. If there's no pain, there's no healing. If you look at leprosy, now this is, you know, leprosy, they put them on an island. Nobody knew what caused leprosy. Does anybody know what leprosy is? Most people don't know. Your skin falls off, your body parts are missing, all kinds of stuff happens. The reason why that happens in the people in leprosy colonies, and when they had leprosy, is the rats at night would eat their body, because these are people who can't feel. Okay, they can't feel their body. That's the disease, is they're disconnected from the ability to feel their body. And so that's why they become so infected and nothing heals, and they got blisters and is sick, because the brain needs to feel. And you couldn't feel the rats, so the rats are eating them. But if you've got an infection, the brain has to go there, it sends all these things. So feeling is the whole point. So getting emotions out is not, what's that about? But becoming aware of them. And if you become aware of them in the presence of somebody else by sharing them, the love that person has for you, which is the empathy, the caring, the understanding, that's love. So that love goes in, and now there's no need for pain. The pain is just saying, I need love, I need love, I need connection, I need connection. I want this, I can't have it. But then when you give somebody, like, I want that car and I want that ice cream and I can't have it, I feel pain. But when you express the emotion and somebody hears it, the brain realizes, oh, I don't really need the ice cream. What I really needed was the love. See, that's what we're wanting all the time. We're just not aware of it. Is that when we're feeling loved, then we have so much more love to give. And we have love to give. That's where we go from mediocre to extraordinary life. That's what we do as coaches. We're giving people what they need. People don't know what they need, but if they come to us, they're beginning to wake up to what they need, and we're helping them how to find that. Okay, so that's step one. I share in one of my books where I had that realization. So when my father died, he picked up a hitchhiker who's found, and on my honeymoon with Bonnie, I got a call. My father was dead, and then he was perfectly healthy, fine. He was 65 years old, and he retired, unfortunately, and his retirement was picking up hitchhikers and taking them on adventures. He gave money to hitchhikers. He drove them around. He liked that. ironically, my last conversation with him, I told him, don't do that. But then he'd given a hitchhiker a ride near one of the prisons. So we assumed it was a prisoner trying to just get a ride somewhere, and then realized my dad was well-to-do. My dad said, oh, I'll give you the money. You can have the money. And the guy thought he was going to be, I don't know what happened. All we know is he was in the trunk of his car and his money wasn't in his body. He died of heat asphyxiation in the trunk of his car.
Wow.
And it was shocking, of course. It was on my honeymoon. I seem to have the karma of unexpected deaths. I sometimes don't want to let people be part of my life. You might be one of the people who die suddenly. not you guys.
I'm getting off this call now. Bye, everyone. No.
But anyway, it hasn't been that many. But in my marriage, with all of our family members were just dying, so to speak. And Raimi really was like a family member. But the point is, I flew down. I'm going to shorten a wonderful story, but I flew down. My family was all around the car where the police had found him dead in the car. And I had to get into the trunk. I just felt I have to connect with my dad this way. I wanted to know what he went through. So I got into the trunk. I asked my family to close the lid, and I saw inside the trunk where he had pulled back one of the lights to get air, because he died of heat asphyxiation under the hot Texas sun. And he'd pulled it back, and he was also probably yelling for help, because 3 people at 3 different times during that day called the police and said, there's this car and you need to check it out. And my mother, the 4th call, then they finally went and checked it out, and he was already dead by then, which is just an expression of my mistrust of authority. They killed my father, as far as I'm concerned, because they didn't listen to the request. But so when we got there, I got into the trunk. They put the lid over me, and I saw where he pulled the light out. I also saw where he was banging on the roof quite a bit with a screwdriver, and all the dents, they were there. And then, without thinking, I saw the hole. I put my arm through the hole, and then I pulled it. As I pulled it out, then I just put it out without thinking, and then I pulled it back. And my brother, who was on the outside, he said, hey, John, see if you can reach around and push the button to open the trunk. So I put my arm out, pushed the button to open the trunk. So he really didn't have to die, if only he had a brother on the outside who could point that out to him. So that's my message in the world today. I'm just helping people, instead of trying to get out of the trunk, how about opening the trunk by looking at something from a different point of view? And that's really what we did. And that was the beginning of Men Are From Mars, was looking at everything which is not working, and let's look at it from another point of view. Instead of trying to get out of the trunk, get the negativity out of you, just bring the love in. Just bring the love in. Bring awareness in. It's literally, you're in a dark room. You can't get rid of the darkness. All you can do is turn on the light switch. The darkness is gone. And that's the whole idea of what you feel you can heal. Then what happens is you can feel what's going on. Maybe you talk about it with somebody, or you think about it. What's good for men, see, if men just talk about it all the time, they produce estrogen. So that's not productive for men. Remember, eating ice cream produces estrogen in men. You can get addicted to what feels good. So our process mainly with men is what Freud did, which is analysis. Whenever you analyze things, the act of analysis produces testosterone. So you look at, okay, what am I feeling? And now analyze it. Why am I feeling it that way? Okay, where did that come from? And is your expectation realistic? Is your expectation unrealistic? Where else have you felt that way? Analyze why you did that, why you felt that at that time. Go back to your childhood, which is what all psychotherapy was based on, is analyzing what I'm feeling now actually comes from something in the past. So we have the healing the heart by, one of the things is remembering things in the past. And we have the concept, which is 90% of anything as an adult that's upsetting you. And it's a big charge, and feeling it doesn't quickly go away. Just being aware, what am I feeling? Just feeling it, and it doesn't go away. Then 90% of it has to do with the past. Because if I keep feeling the present as if this is the problem, it's not the problem. The problem is something happened now that triggers something in the past of me. So I have to look back at the past. And if I can realize it, help heal that, I'll become more aware of my past traumas, my past upsets, my past disappointments, and I can become aware of those, then suddenly I'm not so upset now. Because the truth is, right now, I'm a mature adult. I'm not powerless. I'm a successful person. There's no reason for me to be upset about this. A little upset, sure. But why so upset? And that's because we haven't healed things in the past. So things get stored, they're incomplete. And at times with something reminds us of that, it can become waken up. Now, another way of looking at this, which we don't say publicly, but I'll just share with you, I tell you what I think. You don't have to always believe everything I think, but my mother was an astrologer. I'm an astrologer. I understand how the stars are constantly affecting us. You know, you come into this world with a basic blueprint, which is your handprint. It's different from anybody in the world. And that's what the universal energies at the time created you. And you are always, the handprint or the fingerprint, which is unique, and 8 billion people all have different fingerprints. That's your unique, you. And so now you is now relating to the universe has changed. And so that's a reaction. So the universal forces are going to react. And let's say they're at the place right now similar to when you were 6 years old and somebody scared you, and the planets are like that. Then your body goes in, oh, okay, I'm feeling that energy of being scared. And then instead of interpreting as something happened in my past, the mind always has to find reasons to justify our extreme emotions. See, we overreact. Overreaction is reacting in a way that's not appropriate for this moment because other moments are coming up. So this is the stored impressions. So that's one way of looking at why your stuff comes up. The other way of looking at it is when we talk about the trash can theory. Rich, you've taught everybody the trash can theory?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have to go into that one. But when things are really safe, then everything from times which weren't safe will come up, but they don't tell you when they're coming up. This is from my childhood. This is from my past. This is a trauma I'm having from something that happened before. It thinks it's happening right now because your brain is always trying to find a reason in the present time for what's happening now so it can solve the problem. And we have to say, oh, there's no problem. It's something in the past. But when you act on your negative emotions, then it keeps affirming the erroneous belief that it's about right now. So people have this bias towards negativity. Everybody does. The longer you have a marriage, for most people, they have a greater bias of negativity, or just give up thinking that I can get what I need from my partner. So all of these little exercises constantly counteract that, which is wonderful. So why do we need to analyze deeper? Is the more self-aware somebody is, if you're angry and just feeling it doesn't go away, analyzing it for a man, what can I do about it? See, that's what a man would do, which is what can I do about it? And I should emphasize this. As a man, when I'm angry or upset, if I'm not analyzing and go deeper, which I do, but let's say I'm angry, what a man needs to do is feel his anger, explore why I'm angry. And the way he has to do is become objective. What happened?
Di qua, di qua, di qua. Andiamo di qua, ho detto. Corri.
Wait, hold
Corri,
on,
andiamo.
Daniela. Daniela, if you could mute.
Good. Okay, so how to process emotions, it's not always to feel it and analyze it. If you're angry and you're a man, don't spend a lot of time feeling it, analyze it, but you analyze what happened that makes me feel this way. Now, the first thing that happens for a man, if he was to feel his emotion and not act on it, but feel it, instead of masturbate it away or drink alcohol away. See, we have things that numb us to our feelings, which are bad habits. So instead of numbing ourselves to our feelings, feel the suffering that you're having, identify the emotion. And for men, usually it's anger. Identify the anger and then say, now, what has happened that makes me feel anger? That's being objective. See, I have this anger. I am angry. Now I'm on the mountain. Now I want to look at the mountain. Okay. So what made me feel this way? And the first thing that comes up is blame. She did it all. She's a blah, blah, blah. She's a blah, blah, blah. I deserve blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's just the defense reactions. So the first, you allow that because you have to look at, okay, well, what's making me feel angry? It's no longer well, first of all, it's how bad she is. I don't want to be with her. I want a divorce. I can't take this. How dare people treat me this way? You feel whatever thoughts you have around that anger. So the key to it is what happened. And this is what we teach men. Instead of going, she's a blah, 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 or they're awful, 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 or I'm never going to do something. Forget about that. First, feel the anger and now say, what exactly happened? What did she say? What did she do? What did she not do? That's the beginning of analysis, of objectively looking at what happened that made me feel this way. Now, he's not telling anybody about this. He's doing it himself privately or with his coach. Because as soon as men go into any kind of victim state, it only gets worse. So all I'm doing is analyzing, becoming objective. What happened? What else happened? Why do I think they did that? And then what didn't happen? What they should have done? What they didn't do, etc. So it's all blame. Anger is always blame. So you look at all of the reasons you can come up with why that person did the wrong thing, what they did that's wrong, and then you have to analyze what should they have done, and then you have to analyze why didn't they do that. You see, this is what we're doing with men a lot, objectively, helping them become objective. What happened? What didn't happen? Why do you think that didn't happen? Now, their testosterone's going up. You see, this is, you're solving a problem here. Do you see? You're analyzing it to solve the problem of why am I angry? After you do that to a certain extent, his well-being, his testosterone, his objectivity, that's one way of looking at it. Testosterone is also objectivity. But I'm looking always these days is also there's a hormonal reaction to everything we think. And testosterone lowers stress. So we want to lower his stress levels by not acting on it, by not trying to change people with it, by taking time to analyze it, be objective. And once you do that the way I just suggested, which is pure blame on the other side, and then kind of like forgiveness by saying, why do you think they did that? You see, that's really what forgiveness is about. When, you know, if you walk in another person's moccasins, you can't judge them. So you're in the direction of this kind of non-judgmental awareness by starting out being very judgmental. What happened? Then what didn't happen that should have happened? And then why didn't they do that? Okay. And you might even go further with why they didn't do that. And why do you think they were doing that? It's all good or bad, doesn't matter. You're just analyzing whatever you think about this. You're thinking a lot instead of feeling a lot. This is for men. Now, once you've become objective analyzing, then you say, now, what did you do that upset them? And you start analyzing your own behavior. And you start realizing that you're part of the problem. And how are you part of the problem? Now, the stumbling block here is that men cannot process through their negativity because they don't know what they did to make it worse. It might have been some superficial thing about towards the end of it. But with the Mars-Venus knowledge, men can like come back and go, oh, I shouldn't have been talking so much. I should have let her explore more. I should have practiced that technique I learned from my coach. I should have done this. I should have done this. So after he shifts focus on blame, then he turns into, okay, what did I do? And then what did I not do that I could have done that would have made it better? Okay, so if I look at some terrible thing that in my life, okay, what did I do? I invested with that person. And then I look at what is it I didn't do? I didn't realize this is someone I couldn't trust. I'm not talking about Rami here, but I look at taking full responsibility. There's nothing more powerful for the masculine side of us than to take full responsibility. Okay, I was sharing with somebody yesterday about his wife loves to order things online and return them. And I never like to return it. And same thing my whole life. He had the same thing, and some men have this. And it's because I have such a strong sense of responsibility. And also, it's a waste of time for me to go to the store and put something in, because how much money am I going to save or waste? I don't look in that way. But for me particularly, I analyzed it. I feel like, no, I bought it. It's mine. You go into a store and they touch it and it breaks, it's yours. I feel that strong sense of responsibility. I feel like if I send it back to the place, I imagine they're going to be a little disappointed that I'm sending that back to them. They lose the sale, etc. Then I'm a victim. Anything in my world as a man that makes me feel like a victim only throws me into weakness. So I can be bruised. That's this process. Yes, you did this, this, this. You did this. You shouldn't have done this, this, this. What you should have done is this, this, this. What I did is this, this, this. What I should have done is this, this, this. And if I'd done this, 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 this is probably what would have happened. And I've solved the problem with my mind. The anger's gone. See, this is how men ideally can process their emotions. However, sometimes the anger that you're feeling is based upon your past. It's like an overreaction. And then you want to be able to do the feeling letter. You want to let those feelings come up from your childhood, because a little boy doesn't need a lot of testosterone. A little boy has the same testosterone levels as a little girl, same estrogen levels as a little girl. The big change doesn't happen until he's in puberty. And then his testosterone goes up 10 times. And now, ideally, if you're dealing with a man stuck in his emotions and objectivity didn't do it, then you want to go back to something, particularly in his first 13 years. It could be as a teenager as well, but bringing it back to before that and process it with the emotions the way we would do with a woman who's an adult woman. We want her as a different process. When a man's angry, he's always got low testosterone. When a woman's angry, she has low estrogen, or sad, or afraid, or whatever. What does she need? Connection. So how do you connect? You connect by feelings. Feelings is how you connect. So when she's feeling this, somebody hears it. And if she's doing the feeling letter alone, what's happening is she's writing it out. Writing it out is so much more powerful than thinking about it, feeling it, just being in it. You got to write it out or speak it out. And if she's writing it out, then she has to go through the process. But always important, more so for women than men, but it's also important for men, is write the response she needs to hear. Like the feeling letter goes back to love, but then you have to write the response. You're writing your letter to your partner or whatever, then you write the letter back. And people who have God in their life, they can write their letters to God. You don't have to be mad at God. You can be mad about what happened and tell God. You see, it's like talking to God. I'm angry about this. I'm sad about this. I'm afraid of this. I feel bad about this. Please forgive me for this. These are people with a relationship with a higher power. Recently, I'm telling people, I saw some research showing that if you look at marriages in America is gone down in the last 30 years to 50, half, according to the population. Half of the people that used to get married are not getting married. So marriage is dramatically dropping for a lot of reasons. One reason, of course, is financial. Men just don't feel like they can make enough money to have a family. Women feel men can't make enough money to make a family. So they're just not, it's too expensive to have kids. So why get married is the way people are all thinking. They don't realize even if you don't have kids, marriage is this amazing institution. But also having children is a part of our evolutionary fulfillment of the genes in our body. Not that we all have
Just
to
5
do that.
minutes, John, just to let you know, we're down to 5.
Okay. So anyway, I saw some research and it said, if you have 500 married couples in America, just understand the proportions. 400 of those people all have a strong relationship with God. And 20%, that 20% have don't believe in God. So if you don't believe in God, from that statistic, one could conclude that marriage is going to be pretty tough for you. And this is what's happened. We become an atheistic, or not, was agnostic is okay too, but agnostic is You believe in something, you just don't understand it. You don't believe it the way other people describe it, whatever, but you believe in a higher power. So if you don't believe in a higher power, it's very hard to have a relationship with your spouse. And the reason for that, and the statistics bear it out, okay, so we become this weird thing that's never happened on the planet, which is people don't believe in a higher power. You know, every tribe in the past, every culture has believed in a higher power. And suddenly we think
Except
that you,
now.
except now. Okay,
Yeah.
this is insane. Because, and I'll explain why. To believe in a higher power basically says somebody knows more than me and I don't know that, and I can communicate with that in some way. So I have help. I have help from someone who's, in a sense, perfect, and I am imperfect. If you don't, we have a need to have connection with perfect. That's also why we have personal growth. We want to become more perfect. We want to become better. So if you don't have someone who's perfect, you will then expect your husband or wife to be perfect. See, we look to our partner. One of the biggest problems in marriage is we look to our partners for everything. That's why we have in the book, How to Get What You Want What You Have, the 12 basic needs we have. We all have them, maybe some more than another. But that's a need we have. That need comes from when we're children. We need our parents to know more than us. Imagine if you think you know more than your parents, you'll be devastated because you don't know anything. So, you know, I continue learning. Ironically, the more you know, the more you don't know. That's the way it works. And your teenagers all think at college, they go to college, they know way everything. And then eventually you realize there's so much you don't know, so much you can't do. And then you start appreciating everybody for what they can do. And life gets better and better. But there's always this part of us, this child part of us that needs for security to feel a higher power. And this is why with my clients, at a certain point, if they don't believe in God or a higher power, I give them that experience. And maybe one time I can devote the whole session to awakening everybody on our teams, the experience. You know, we've done it we'll be doing it in Bali, which I can do it better when we're all together as a group. But I can send this energy where you consciously experience an energy flowing into your body. And you say to that energy, increase, and it increases. it responds to you. So there needs to be some kind of esoteric experience in your life. You know, some people just have them, you know, like an out of the body experience at a dangerous moment or something, and or some magical thing happens and they start to believe again. Not that I'm recommending it because it's not my field of expertise, but so many people who've done ayahuasca or mushrooms believe in God after that. You can't not believe in God after taking mushrooms. Of course, they want to keep you away from that stuff, they meaning authorities. But history, throughout all history, people were using mushrooms, people were using exotic soma, and the Indian tradition was some natural drug prepared so it didn't have bad effects. Ayahuasca, you know, there's a whole nother world out here that we're just not aware of. We live in this little box. So once you have an awareness that there are forces in the universe that are guiding us all the time, we think we're doing it all. We have a little antenna that says, go here. That's how you know what you know. You connect with the wisdom of the universe, the intelligence that digests my food. But to experience that, you may not be able to describe it or whatever, but you know it exists. And then what you can do is, what I do is a fun game with all my clients, which is, imagine you've got helpers, these are your guardian angels. Imagine you've got these angels that help you, whatever that looks like. And you ask them, give me reassurance during the day by drawing my attention towards the clock when there's numbers like digital clocks, like 1228, that's my birthday, or 111. And my mind almost always goes to when it's 222, you know, give yourself some special numbers and just set it up, you know, just like when my thinking is on the right track, show me. Because usually if I have a little doubt, a little insecurity, boom, I look over and it's 222, or I look over, it's 1228, or I look over, it's 111. So
Mine's
this is
1111. Yeah.
Yeah, 1111. It's so magical, it's so wonderful. It just kind of makes you feel, which is throughout history, there have been signs. Okay. People would watch, what are the signs? They categorize them, whatever. I'm just saying a simple one now is the digital signs, that when you have a question about something, and if your mind unconsciously, you don't consciously look to the clock. It's just suddenly I go, oh, it's that. And the one sign I'm always scared of, but I try not to be, I'm working on that, is 9/11.
Oh,
9/11, I just look at it, means caution. Be cautious. Just be cautious. That's all. It doesn't mean bad things have to happen. It means be cautious. At least for me, that's what it means.
well, speaking of digital time, I promised Helena 12
Yes,
o'clock.
okay. All right, we end at 12
I want to
o'clock.
thank you, John. Everybody here thanks you. We talk about these calls. Next month, we'll do it again. Again, your generous time to us, we appreciate it a lot. This was a great call.